What's up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name's Seth, and today we're going to be playing some Black Desert. I don't know how long this series is going to end up lasting. I don't know how frequent it's going to end up being, but most of all, what I'm going to be doing today is trying to show off just how awesome this game is, because a lot of us actually kept up with this game. I kept up with this game for quite some time, but way back when the game was just kind of coming out of the beta, or maybe it was still in the closed beta, it actually costed like $40 to get into it. Right now, you can sign up on their website, link will be in the description. You can play this game absolutely free for 7 days, and then if you want to actually get the game, $10. No subscription fees, no nothing. It's an absolutely stellar, amazing online game. Very forward-thinking, very grindy though, and very pay to win in a lot of retrospects, or in a lot of respects, not retrospects, jeez. So for today, again, like I said, I'm kind of just gonna be showing off a lot of the different characters, kind of introducing you to the combat system, because that, of course, is the most, like, coolest thing about this game. But I've got a couple characters kind of set up here, just so I can kind of show you them. You know, this guy's the ninja and stuff. Then we got the barbarian dude. I will show the character customization, but I want to show off these characters first. And I named it my name not Jeff, because somebody already had my name Yef, right? And I gave her a mustache, and I made her like a cute J-pop idol and then a mustache, because I'm weird like that. But in any case, yeah, we're gonna show off all these different characters and kind of their different play styles. Not that I'm an expert on it by any means. There's plenty of other great content creators out there that are way late game in this game. I just want to show you kind of from my order of, these are characters that I found to be the most interesting. We're not gonna go through all of the characters. And then after I show you all that, I'm gonna delete some of these characters just so I can show you the character customization. So while I am going to be talking about all of the different gameplay mechanics themselves, you know, questing and what you actually do for merchanting and all of that stuff, even though I'm not really an expert on it. Again, most of all, like I said, oh, I love it. Seriously, dude. Oh, that's so cringe and good. Most of all, I'm going to be showing you all the different characters. That's a player, by the way, or at least I'm pretty sure it is. Maybe it's not. But I'm going to be showing you the combat. So it's just very action-packed combat. Even the archer character right here that we're playing is going to end up being very action-driven. A lot of the different combos that you're going to end up doing are actually going to be tied to different button presses and stuff like that. So it's like, right now I'm mixing in just point and clicking, but also sidestepping, stepping backwards, hitting shift every now and then. You can also hold control for certain commands on certain, wait, is that a command? I forget. But there's F and E. Generally, the game's actually going to do a really good job kind of instructing you on all of the different player abilities as you're actually like choosing them. So you can also, if you don't want to actually, like you can see in the bottom right, the game does a fantastic job. A, S, D, kind of showing us all the different directions and everything like that. A nice little visual tutorial, or you can always just see on the hotbar down at the bottom, I can just press 5 to do that kick attack, rather than having to do whatever the button prompt would end up being for it. Oh, space! That's the other button that you end up doing in combat. Whoops, rip me. Okay, you get out of here, jerkface. So, also, these are quest characters that we're dealing with. Some of them, anyways. You can see they have quest objective on top of their head. And with the compass in the top right, it's very handy and useful. You're gonna see all of the faded out red markers are just going to be random enemies, and then all the yellow ones are going to be all the quest-related ones. Now, near as I can tell, at least with the early game anyways, these enemies are not going to aggro you. Even if you get all up in their face, they're actually only going to aggro... Okay, maybe not. Oh no, that's because I attacked that thing a while ago. Okay, but they are going to end up aggroing you a little bit later on, I'm pretty sure. But for a lot of the starting stuff, it doesn't really. So anyways, let's swap over to another character, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about the movement along with the combat. I wanted to show you as well that you actually just click disconnect, and then you can just swap over to another character right here on the fly. A lot of the characters are going to be gender locked though, so if you're playing an archer, for example, you're always going to be a female. female, as opposed to playing as just a swordsman with a sword and a shield. You're always going to be a man. Now, that's the other thing too, is the Muso character, or Muso character, is the one that I have the most experience with, so I know a lot of his combos. These other characters I just kind of slightly messed around with. This is going to be the sorcerer, or sorceress, I think. She's actually really, really cool and very appealing to the eye, because all of your attacks are going to be all dark and stuff. Really reminds me of like Devil May Cry. And a little bit later down the line, this character is going to end up actually casting a lot of spells while you're in the middle of all the combat and stuff. Generally speaking, as I said with the archer, you know, this game does a fantastic job of making all of the characters very, very fun, very fast-paced. All of these are just items that we could grab on the ground as well, by the way. A lot of them actually do have their teleport ability, which I'm not exactly sure how to be doing that right now, because again, I haven't really messed with this character too much. I think that's what that number 3 ability is. Maybe I'm doing that right. I don't know. But yeah, they always seem to have a mobility move as well as a little bit of crowd control. And only in the late game, like really early on with all of this beginning stuff, you're just gonna mop the floor with all the enemies, which is great for a start of this type of a game, right? For sure. But the whole thing is that as you get further and further on, that's when all of the classes start to actually become their own. And as far as I know, I think it's level 50 plus is when you can actually go into what the game calls an awakened ability, which I guess is kind of like the subclass of each of the classes. So, for example, with this sorceress character, I'm pretty sure her awakened state actually has a completely new set of skills, and you're actually using a scythe weapon instead of actually using all of this hand-to-hand kind of spell combat, right? So this is the ninja character, which I think a lot of you are personally going to really enjoy, because first of all, we actually have a double jump with this character, but also his style and everything about him is very fast paced. His right click actually throws a shuriken, very similar to another game that I actually made on the channel called Trove, where the ninja actually plays very similar to this guy. So you can throw your shurikens around, you can dash around, use smoke bombs and diversion attacks. He's what you would actually qualify as a DPS character, very, very squishy. And even when we're customizing our character, I'll kind of show all of that off. But you can actually have, yes, I want to turn those off. It actually shows you kind of a grid system, letting you know which characters end up falling under which category. And of course, you know, costumes and armor is going to end up showing the further you get. The different weapons are going to show as well. But I kind of wanted to show you a little bit of the mobility here with this character because of the fact that he can actually jump around. But this might be a little bit of a bad example because we're out in the field with this guy, and I don't think that we're actually near any towns. So I might save the introduction to all of the different aspects of the game when we actually swap over to another character. Okay, so I'm going to be using my main character, the Muso, now. I guess we didn't have enough time to get into any of the other characters, so sorry about that if you were actually stoked about it. But just to let you know, there's a sword shield character, there's a big brute character who actually ends up in the late game jumping around and throwing enemies into each other. You can actually check the video tutorials on the Black Desert website. Again, links will be in the description for all that stuff. And they actually do a really good job making the characters look fun and as something attractive that you actually want to play with. But you kind of gotta just mess around with it yourself to figure out a character that you enjoy. So for me, it's this Muso character. Not only just because of the oriental style of the character, but also just the combat style as well. I just find very, very appealing. So he's gonna end up using a katana. You know, he's got a lot of mobility to him. His right click is actually even a dash, so you can actually just dash in and out of combat very, very easily. But let's talk about the walking around and kind of talk about the different mechanics of the game before we end up actually finally getting into the character customization. So as far as mobility is concerned, you actually can climb on everything in the game, which is absolutely awesome. Even this big castle that we got in the background here, you can manage climbing around all over it. And in a lot of ways, there's going to actually be bonuses in different areas, like even this right here, the kite with the broken line. This is probably going to end up being a quest item that you could end up dealing with somewhere around in this area. It's just a quest that I haven't actually started. Again, the compass in the top right is going to be very, very useful because at any time you can always hit control to get yourself the mouse movement, and in the top right we're going to click on NPC. Now we can actually use this to very effectively find any of the different types of NPCs that we want. So you want to find the cooking person, the guy that ends up selling you the furniture, because you can end up buying your own housing and stuff like that, the trade manager, the stable for the horse, which we'll show that in a bit. You also end up getting boats and stuff like that later on. Storage, which is very important because for some reason this game actually has a pretty crucial weight system to it, where you know, gold and carrying money is actually going to weigh you down. So you want try and deposit all your money as much as you can. But the biggest thing that I personally find the most impressive about this game is the different options that you have to mess around with your character. So first of all, you're always going to end up getting stopped when you get close to an edge, unless you end up just continuously moving your character. Like if I end up holding up after he ends up doing that little, then of course he's going to end up just walking right off the ledge. You can also climb up every ledge as well. And if you end up hitting Q, you can crouch down, right? Very, very cool, the fact that you can do this. I don't think that it has any functionality other than for fun. But if you end up doing it near an edge or on a fence or something like that, the game is actually going to be smart enough to know that you're by an edge, and it has your character sit. And then you can press Q again to actually strike a bunch of different sitting poses depending on where you're actually sitting, right? Absolutely awesome. And one of the funniest things in this game is that if you crouch, and then you end up pressing space, you can prone. And it's just so, like, that's the thing about this game that I love, is messing around. You know, like, I would love to see a whole chain of people just kind of doing a centipede all the way through town or something like that. It just would be such fun to play this with other people, you know? Especially when you get to the later portions of the game where the combat actually gets a little bit more difficult, because as it stands right now, I can pretty much just kill everything. Also, you can see kind of at the bottom left of the center of our screen, you can see these XP boosters. Now, this is kind of what I mean, where this game does have a very much pay-to-win method to it, where you can buy XP boosters, and in fact, you can actually buy the in-game currency. Now, this I don't personally view as a problem. I think that it's very, very forward-thinking, because there's always going to be those weird, shady websites online that are going to end up selling the in-game currency that other people end up grinding for real money, so may as well just sell it themselves in the game, right? As far as I've heard, those shady websites still offer the currency for cheaper than the in-game store, but I've never, you know, I always just play these games official. I don't end up doing any of that stuff. But to the point of the XP booster, I wanted to show you that I thought this was very, very forward thinking as well, is the fact that this 44-minute XP booster, I could log out, wait a day, and then I log back in, and I still have the 44 minutes. It isn't continuously counting down on the time limit while you're logged out. So that's one of the things that is a huge improvement over most other games that are this type, because they usually force you to use and grind all of the XP that you want, you know, from the XP booster, and it always kind of felt like punishing the player rather than rewarding. So you can always end up getting a horse. There is horse breeding that you can end up getting into, trying to end up getting higher tiers of horse, which of course are going to end up being faster and stronger. Horses can die. Enemies will actually go out of their way to try and kill them, so be very, very careful where you actually park these guys. And then also you can kind of see this right here, the arrows that are on our screen. That's actually our quest indicator and quest marker, so you can always go right here and see whatever one of your main quests are, or see whatever your side quests are, and you can always just click on the button to navigate to it, right? And then the game is going to point you in that direction. And to top it all off, just so that the player doesn't have to waste time, you can press T at any time as the default key, and he's going to auto walk to the quest destination. Very, very useful, because there doesn't seem to be any fast traveling in this game, and man alive, it is an expansive map. So speaking of which, let's open the map right here, which this map is insane, dude, because of the fact that not only does it end up showing you all the points of interest, but it also shows you all of the grinding spots. So you can see right here is where you're going to end up grinding enemies in Helm's Post 51 to level 53. So very, very cool that the game actually has stuff like that, and just kind of has all these nice little details, shows you all these different altars and all the points of interest that you can end up using, and then all of the different side quests and stuff like that that are going to end up showing up, and it's just really, really intuitive, really, really advanced. I absolutely love it. And the fact that the map is actually in real time as well, so if you have somebody in your party, for example, or on your friends list, you're going to be able to see where they are on the map, and see them traveling along the path. Now that's where you might be thinking to yourself, why would you auto walk? Because it technically is probably faster to just cut through the woods, right? Wrong, because you actually do have a little bit of a movement speed boost or buff while you're on specific like pathways and stuff like that. And the fact that it can take somewhere between 20 minutes to actually get from one side of the map to another definitely means that it's very important that you have this auto walk function, because it means that you don't gotta deal with it yourself. You can actually go and get some food or stuff like that, right? So all of these caravans that you can see are actually other players as far as I know. Even this dude right here with the backpack, I think that's the lowest tier of merchant. So I'm not really that experienced with it, but as far as I know, you can get into all sorts of different professions, one of which that I find to be the most interesting is the mercantile one, or merchanting. Because you actually will get these supplies that physically impact your character's weight, and then you carry them all the way to another town to end up selling them and trading the goods and stuff like that, and then slowly end up going up the chain of being able to have your own caravans and stuff like that. And each of the jobs actually are this fleshed out. They even have, you know, there's the fishing as well as another really, really big one. Also, I do want to mention too, before I forget, you can kind of see the two bars at the bottom of our screen. One is going to be our health, way at the bottom. That's going to be our health, and then our stamina or magic ability. And then there's also going to be those other two bars that are right here. That's going to be your horse's health at the top and your horse's stamina at the bottom. So if your horse runs out of stamina, you can't do anything with him. So what you gotta do is you come over to a trader or a horse trader or vendor or whatever, and you just go to the stable, and then you click on the horse that you actually want to select, and you recover, and you just pay a certain amount of fees to actually end up recovering it, right? So I think that pretty much handles the bulk of the content, outside of the fact that you can always press comma, I think that's the button, at any time, and then this little freak is gonna end up showing up. And this is fantastic because this character is going to constantly throw quests at you. Always, over and over and over again. You're always going to have something to do and a direction to go, until you end up getting to the later parts of the game, of course, where you're going to be spending most of that time just grinding specific areas for either rare gear or just to get some experience and stuff like that. But anyways, let's get to the character customization, and then we'll call it a day. I also just wanted to give you a quick heads up, folks, because I ran into a little bit of an issue here. While when you create a character, you actually can't delete that character for 24 hours. I didn't know that the process of actually deleting the character, like once you can actually start deleting the character, which is this little icon right here, the character is going to take about 24 hours to actually end up deleting and clearing the character name and everything like that. So this is actually a couple days later than the first original clips that we had of this video. But let's hop into the character customization right here. This is where, like I was saying earlier, each of the characters is going to end up being gender locked. So the warrior is always going to end up being a guy, while the ranger is always going to end up being a girl, right? And then we've got the sorceress, which is going to always end up looking like this kind of, and the berserker. You do actually have quite a bit of customization as far as the characters are concerned, and because this game is not like, as far as I know, it's not North American, you actually have a lot of really, really cool customization. But most of all, I wanted to show you this little pinwheel right here that's actually showing you the strengths and weaknesses of all the characters. So you can see this is where I was getting the idea that the ninja actually is pretty much defenseless. Like, he's only got one stat towards his defense, and then everything else about him is extremely high up there, which is pretty nuts. Now, the Dark Knight, I also want to point out, is generally, from what I've seen anyways, it seems like it's one of the really, really good starting characters, because everybody that ends up actually playing as her is talking about like how powerful she is all the time. And then here's that wizard dude where he actually is kind of more focused on cast time and stuff like that. And then the witch, which for some reason is like the female equivalent. I don't know. But let's just go for the warrior character, just so I can kind of show you the very standard like character customization to it. So obviously, like most other games, you can always end up going into your clothing, and then you can end up selecting the different types of armor that you actually want to see the character in. The P icon, as far as I know, means it's from the Pearl shop, which is the pay-to-win shop. You can, however, end up buying these suits in the game store, like from other players, for the in-game currency. It's just going to be quite expensive. And then you can always look at the helmet on the character too, but why would you want to do that if you're trying to customize, right? and just kind of get to see all the different tiers and stuff like that. Another thing too that I think is really cool, and I do want to point out, is that at any time in the game, like when you're just in a normal file on your character messing around, you can actually go into the customization files again, and you'll actually be taken to this same menu where you can then change certain characteristics of the character, and then it's going to end up costing you in order to actually re-customize your character, right? You can even choose the pose that the character is going to be in. As far as I know, there's also custom poses, so you can just kind of see what's going on, right? Another thing too that I thought is very interesting, especially for YouTube, is that you can end up changing a lot of the background here to the different weather effects and different background colors and stuff like that. And most importantly of all, they actually have a blue screen. Now, I don't know how useful this would end up being, because as you can see, it makes our character extremely bright, but it's actually really, really useful. Like, just for YouTubers in generals and people that are trying to end up creating like thumbnails and stuff, because this is great for chroma keying. It means we can get rid of the background and stuff. The reflection on the character is something that I don't know whether or not that would end up being a bit of a problem. Like, you can see it's pretty intense, the lighting on the character. But I guess also it would give people that actually know a thing or two about Photoshop a little bit more customization to kind of lower all of the contrasting and stuff. But let's just go to the standard one just so we can kind of see a better idea of our character. The horoscope, I don't think has anything to do with anything. I don't know if it actually has like secret stats or anything, so don't quote me on that, but we're gonna just go with the goblin because I think it's funny. We can always toggle the UI on and off as well, again for the screenshots. Take screenshots, open the screenshot folder, and then we could just choose where we're actually having the character view and look and everything. But let's get into the customization. The hair is the biggest of which, because the hair not only looks really, really good. Let's turn off views so he actually looks straight. The hair, it just looks beautiful. It really does. You know, they actually really nailed the style of it all, right? So you can end up choosing all sorts of different hairstyles, and then just kind of moving your character around and checking it all out. But then most of all, you actually get to customize it quite a bit. So you can go into the shape and you can choose the length of, depending on the different hairstyles. Right now we can actually control the length of the front. This one's going to control the length of the sides. And then this third one is actually going to control another tier of the length, right? So it's pretty cool that they actually let you do that. You can also change the curves, which I'm not exactly sure which the curve strength is actually changing, like which aspect of the hair this is actually changing. I don't exactly know. It's got to be something, unless that's the to go with the curve level. Yeah, I see. So you can get your character looking pretty crazy and weird, dude. Like it's really, really nuts. As far as the customization to the hair's color, it's pretty insane. You can go into all sorts of crazy colors, the normal colors as well, but also just very, very cool dyes and stuff like that. And then you can end up changing the hair shine, so it's either really, really shiny or not shiny at all. Go to the hair ends, and then maybe you want to customize it and give pink tips or something like that, you know, and you can actually put the dye on the area of which a little bit more intense. And then this is just going to be like the base hairline in general, so you kind of get to choose all of that and just really, really get to flesh out your character and make them look as cool as you want, right? And then there's going to end up being the face, which is going to have even more customization. Not only can you choose a bunch of different presets, which you can end up changing as far as I know, you know, with all the face shape and stuff like that. Skin is just going to end up being skin color, and then you can change the shine on it to either be like absolutely crazy or just none at all. I kind of try to go for a nice little medium. The facial hair is going to be kind of, you know, hit or miss, where you can choose right here. This is going to end up being kind of his base hairline, like underneath everything, so you can either change the intensity and just go with that, or you can end up actually having like a physical hairy beard that's going to end up showing on top of it. Now, why I say that this actually is good as a base is because now you can see we actually have a little underlaying dark tone underneath the little beard that we got going on, and then simultaneously even with this mustache and stuff like that, it just generally makes the character look a little bit better, right? And they've just got so much that you can end up actually doing with the character, including the eye. This is the default brow. This is going to end up being the same basic outline that's going underneath the eyebrows, and then here's the eyebrows themselves, so that you can really customize your character to an insane degree. The face shape is going to end up being all the different aspects. that you can actually just change yourself. Very intuitive, very like brr, 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 hello. Like it's got a really intuitive kind of customizer right here, where you can actually interact with it all yourself rather than having to go into all the graphs and stuff like that, which you can always get into all of that yourself anyways and reset all the parts at any time. The makeup is really cool too, because it actually allows you to make your character look pretty intimidating and pretty intense. You can see like the eyeliner on this one is a lot more predominant over something like this though, but I think that's where the area ends up coming in. Yeah, most definitely. So you can see it's gotten a lot more intense, and of course it being eyeliner, it means that they're going to have it be a little bit shinier, but it's still pretty cool because we'll get into the eyes later, but you can kind of change, you know, you give your character lipstick if you want, right? I think. I don't know, it's changing something on him, but who cares? And then the eyes themselves, you can end up choosing like the different, like the pupil itself right in the middle of his eye. You can see we can end up actually having a star, change the opacity of it, make it red so you can kind of see in the middle of his pupil. It's actually kind of changed, and it's pretty cool that they actually have that layer of customization. You're never going to actually see it, so who cares? But it's neat that they actually have this much customization, mostly for the roleplay aspect, because you can end up making your character look more like a creature, or just make it look funny and weird, or like you're a cyborg or something, you know? You can also change it too so it's only your right or your left eye, so you can end up making a pretty cool ninja character and actually have one of his eyes be kind of scarred up to go with another one of his eyes. So we've got just different eyelashes right here, which isn't really going to show up, and then here's another different level of eyeliner which you're going to be able to change on your character, and then the bottom lip of the eyeliner as well, which is another thing you're going to be able to change. Then you can also choose a couple preset tattoos, but they do actually give you quite a bit of customization with it, because let's actually scroll down right here. Like for example, with this one, this is one that you actually can't customize very much. You can only really change the density. Of course, it's like the Joker face, right? But then there's going to be other ones like this one right here. You can actually change whether it's, you know, it's direction on him, whether it's higher or lower. You can rotate it so that it's a little bit different, or you can end up changing the size of it. So for example, let's see whether or not can we actually end up. Yeah, so we can actually end up putting this onto the character's mouth right here and actually making it look like some weird vampire teeth or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to use it as an example where you can end up actually having some pretty cool customizations on your character, you know. They also, wait, don't they have body tattoos as well, but maybe that's under a different category. So you can end up changing the wrinkles around your character as well, maybe make him look like an older mage character or something. The standby expression, this is important to keep in mind, because the standby impression, they actually tell you when you're standing still, your character is going to end up having this impression. That's why you saw, like with the archer chick, where she was smiling every time I was standing still. And then you can end up changing the weight of it, so it's like the intensity, where either he's just kind of showing a little bit of his teeth or he's like really intense. And the mouths actually look really good in this game as well. So we'll take that. Oh, and another thing too, I almost forgot, is you can actually raise your character's hair, which is mostly just served to try and get it out of his way when you're customizing him. I should have actually done that while I was showing all the customization, right? So here's a different body, where you can end up using that same intuitive system to kind of customize the different lengths and areas on the character. You know, maybe you want him to be thin or big or something, whatever, and reset all of them as well. Then for the muscle, you just straight up like scroll and it just puts that intensity on the character. It makes him really shiny too though, so you gotta be careful about that. And then here's the body tattoo that you can end up putting on your character. Some of these, again, you're actually gonna be able to choose like the spot that you actually have them located, but for the most part, you're just gonna be able to choose the intensity of it, and you can invert the color if you want to as well. And then this is where you actually edit your character's pose. I don't know what this is going to end up actually doing. I think it's that you can have a completely custom pose for your character that you can then save and then end up using on your character. So that's pretty cool, dude. Like, you could end up making something pretty funny and pretty crazy with that, you know? Like, it's really neat that they actually give you that level of customization to your character to kind of just do like whatever it is that you actually want with them. And that's the biggest thing about this game that I really, really enjoy, is just the fact that they actually let you, jeez Louise, choose so much on your character. Then there's going to, of course, end up being the voice line. You can just end up choosing, you know, the different voices that they actually have. They have 7 of them, at least for this guy, and then you can choose either if it's deeper or a higher note. And then you're just going to end up choosing the pose that they end up doing. They don't really say anything. For the most part, it's just going to be like grunts and just kind of, you know, and stuff like that. But then otherwise, you just end up choosing a character name, hopefully something that nobody else has. And then there you go. You just get right into it. And you can also end up saving the character model temporarily, apply the most popular character model, which is going to end up being, I think, from other players. I'm not exactly sure. But then you can also save it, load the file, go to the beauty album, and just kind of take different pictures of your character and stuff. And it's really, really a great system in all regards. Like, everything about this game is awesome, you know. Now, in closing, I do want to say, I know that at the beginning of this video, I said I was going to start a Black Desert Online series, but now that I've actually had a couple days to actually think about it, I don't think that's going to end up happening, folks, at least not right now, because I don't really have the extra time to commit to having an MMO as a Let's Play series, because this game is potentially infinite, which means that, you know, that's pretty crazy. Now, sometime in the near future, I would like to actually have a series on this game, but for today, I just wanted to kind of introduce you to it and let you know that, once again, yeah, there is a 7-day free trial, so you can try this game out for yourself, see if your computer can run it, and then if you want to buy it, you can either spend $10 or higher, depending on the amount of the pack that you want to actually end up getting. But this game's really worthwhile if you want to just have a random MMO to grind out with, while also just being one that you can mess around with. Thanks so much for watching, though, everybody. Don't forget to like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content. Links will be in the description for everything. Sayonara, and stay epic.